Good morning to all. On behalf of Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, I'm here to present on the topic of ecotourism in India, giving a major emphasis on the guidelines issued by the ministry, where tourism activities are being taken up in and around the protected areas and other ecologically fragile landscapes. Whereas our healthy natural ecosystems are crucial and important for the well-being of all the living entities living in and around the ecosystems, and at the same time giving economic security to the people. What we see in our Indian context is that most of these wilderness areas in India are falling in the ecologically fragile landscapes. Say, for example, is the Western Ghats, where we could highlight like the Nilgiris biodiversity hotspot connecting the Mudumalai Tiger Reserve, Nagarhole, Bandipur and BRT, and other areas like hill stations where, say we take examples of Karnataka, wherein Shimoga, Chikmagalur areas are falling up. And though these ecosystems are ecologically very fragile, they are providing a whole host of ecosystem services to the people living in and around the area and are remaining as an important tourism attraction. So when we propose or take up ecotourism, any activity, tourism activity in a very commercial manner, that would lead to destruction, and thereby those areas will not be of tourism attractions anymore. So rather than taking tourism merely as an activity for recreation and pleasure, taking a tourism activity just as for mere pleasure and recreation, I would like to highlight on the concept of ecotourism, which is a responsible travel to the nature areas, wherein tourists whoever visit these areas shall appreciate nature, culture, indigenous knowledge of the local people living over there, and wherein all the stakeholders, including the local communities, are involved in this concept of ecotourism, so as to provide economic well-being to those people. So tourism in the form of ecotourism has high potential for public awareness, education and wildlife conservation, because the activities which we will be taking up through this ecotourism will always be ecologically compatible in terms of land use, and also take up livelihood opportunities which are ecologically compatible, thereby providing greater economy to large number of people in the local areas. So this not only helps in direct conservation of our wildlife and forests, but at the same time make the local communities as owners by themselves and live self-sufficient. So coming to the statistical part of the protected areas in our country, protected areas constitute about roughly around 5.30% of the country's geographical area in terms of national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves and community reserves. So mostly these of the protected areas in terms of national parks and sanctuaries are the ones which have been notified as tiger reserves, and as on today in India there are 52 tiger reserves and 30 elephant reserves. So I would like to give emphasis and bring into limelight on some of the important successful ecotourism activities that have been adopted globally as well as in India. The best examples that I would like to propose is that of Masai Mara in Kenya, Kruger National Park in South Africa and Serengeti in Tanzania, followed by Yellowstone National Park in US. So here they are adopting, the US is adopting something like a new concept called Conservancy Reserve Program. This was actually adopted by US in 1985, wherein the farmers who have very less susceptible productive lands are encouraged to volunteer by converting those those farmlands into woodlots, wetlands and habitats that are viable for wildlife population. So the same concept is being adapted in Africa, which is otherwise put in terms of community nature conservancy, wherein in South Africa, Kenya and Tanzania, the private landholders have already got with the wildlife population in their area. So they individually or in cooperation, as working as a cooperative, are promoting ecotourism. So wherein in both these areas, the private sectors and corporate sectors are encouraged to invest on some conservation projects so that they are promoting wildlife safaris in these areas. The same thing I would like to highlight is that Maharashtra had come up with one such program in Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve, and though the project is in the preliminary stage, the concept being adopted is that the local farmers who are especially living in the buffer zone areas, because the core area of the tiger reserves is mostly for conservation of source population of tigers, but the buffer area of any protected area of tiger reserves will have very many stakeholders. So how to bring wildlife conservation into mainstreaming, because as on today, ecotourism in our country is an intersection between both tourism and conservation. So here the farmers are being encouraged to volunteer and bring up their farmlands which are not productive to be invested on tourism, ecotourism, by adopting a few measures, habitat improvement measures that would support developing it into a natural forest, woodlot, wetlands, or anything that is viable for tigers to survive. And what happens is that these farmers can either individually or in a collaborative approach through a cooperative can function by promoting safaris in these areas. So another welcoming thing is that the hoteliers who are nearby or any corporate companies may also come up investing some conservation projects. So this is like more of an tie-up approach wherein a partnership can be established among the stakeholders to promote ecotourism in and around the ecological feral landscapes. So another best example which I would like to quote where ecotourism are highly successful in tiger reserves and other protected areas are of Kaziranga in Assam, Mudumalai Tiger Reserve in Tamil Nadu, Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala, Bandipur and Nagarhole in Karnataka, wherein a concept called eco-development, through the concept of eco-development, we form eco-developmental committees with the local people. So it is here where the ministry would start working right from the grassroots level, and these committees are being involved in protection purposes to promote tourism. Like what has happened in Periyar was that earlier there was more of poaching and other and illegal ganja cultivations. These people have been brought into goodwill and confidence with the local forest department, and now they are working as protection guides, as well as the young youths who can be identified and they can be trained to be working as naturalists, bird watchers, tourist guides, and they can also be involved by the local resort and hoteliers, so that employment generation opportunities are being given to those people. Even ADSs could be formed by valuing the local indigenous knowledge and tribal importance or cultural importance of that particular area. So these are some best examples. And nowadays in Northeast, even the communities are coming in forefront to promote such ecotourism activities. One thing is with that of a Pangti village, wherein Amur falcon, which is a migratory species, which migrates from Siberia via India through Arabian Sea to South Africa, is being conserved, and at the same time ecotourism is promoted for sighting of these areas. And where all of you must have heard, wherever leopards exist, you would have heard only about the conflicts arising in those areas. But one good example of coexistence of leopard with local communities is that of Jawai Dam Leopard Conservation Reserve in Rajasthan, wherein people, the local pastoralists, are leasing their unproductive lands to take up leopard safaris. So this is a conservation reserve wherein only not forest lands are involved, but also the revenue lands, village commons, private lands, everything is taken up with the goodwill of the local people through local panchayats and gram sabhas. These are some good examples that I would like to quote on ecotourism that is happening in our country. So, coming up with the law and policy aspects. As of now, we don't have any exhaustive law and policies for regulating ecotourism in our country, because ecotourism in Indian context is just an intersection between both tourism and conservation. So, both forests and wildlife being in the concurrent list of our Indian constitution, both the central and the state governments have been regulating tourism based on their own guidelines. In that way, the major acts that are playing a pivotal role in regulating tourism in our country are the Forest Conservation Act, Environmental Protection Act, Coastal Regulation Zones, in Environmental Impact Assessments, and Wildlife Protection Act. So under this Wildlife Protection Act, National Tiger Conservation Authority, a statutory body, has laid out guidelines as how to promote tourism in and around the tiger reserves. While core area of the tiger reserves is being kept intact and inviolate for only the conservation purpose of tiger source populations, the buffer areas of the tiger reserves are being encouraged to promote ecotourism by involving all the stakeholders of that area, including the local communities, thereby promoting economic upliftment and well-being of the local people over there. And Ministry has issued a guideline separately to take up ecotourism in all areas of both forests and wildlife, including those falling under the eco-sensitive zones. And all these guidelines broadly speaks about adopting any ecotourism activity that would have very low impact on the environment, and to take up activities that will take care and conserve the ecological security of the area and also promote wildlife values of the area. And it has been insisted by the ministry to involve all the people, including Gram Sabha and various stakeholders, while doing any decision making, and also to highlight the biodiversity values and wildlife values of that particular area, build an awareness system and respect the cultural values of the area, promote such livelihood activities which are compatible with the fragile land uses, and also make use of the local resources that are sustainable for long-term ecotourism. So where are the important components where the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Forest Department can work together in promoting ecotourism? While the guideline speaks broadly about developing in state-level ecotourism and ecotourism strategies, there is something called a local advisory committee in these guidelines, where the committee can be constituted for a particular district covering the tiger reserve areas within the jurisdiction of the field director. And this local advisory committee is chaired by an officer of divisional commissioner rank. The collectors are being involved, and the representatives are from officials of tribal department, tourism department, as well as rural welfare department. And there are also representatives from outside, ex officio members from local political bodies, and they all can work together, evaluating and bringing up the concept of an ecotourism site and how to go for a management plan in that particular ecotourism site. Say, for example, if it involves tiger reserves, there is something called tiger conservation plan. In this regard, any tourism activity that will be taken up in and around the tiger conservation area can be an integral part of this TCP, which will be approved by the Government of India to promote ecotourism in those areas. Second comes with the management plan, say in terms of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Here also, the ecotourism activity can be taken up, and with regard to the eco-sensitive zone, if it has been declared for that particular area, it is mandatory to go for preparation of a zonal master plan, because now there are already protected areas like national parks and sanctuaries that have been promoting ecotourism. We very well know that there would be many private stakeholders who have been invested in and around the protected areas, and which is falling in the eco-sensitive zone. In that way, the local hoteliers, tourism department, cultural department, tribal affairs department, all can come together and impart their knowledge of promoting ecotourism in the zonal master plan, taking into consideration the tourism master plan of that particular area. So what happens is that all stakeholders of the areas are brought into one common platform, wherein we could try to develop a partnership amongst them and also encourage the local people to work self-sufficient and improving their economic and livelihood activities. And the monitoring mechanisms can very well be at the national level with all the ministries involved, at the state level with all the line departments involved with the forest department, and at the district level can very well go with the local advisory committees, even to address on even small issues that is being taken up at the grassroots level. So with advancement in information technologies, whenever the Ministry of Tourism would develop any advancements, I would suggest or request that the activities that are being promoted by the forest department in the states could also be involved by bringing up an ecotourism circuit by involving all the ministries into one and promote virtual tours in case while all tourists could not visit the area. They can make use of the augmented realities and virtual reality apps to promote tourism. So, the Minister of Environment, Forests and Climate Change have laid these guidelines only with the goodwill and good intention of regulating tourism in a very sustainable manner so that it would run in a long way without depleting the natural resources. And there has always been a gateway providing guidelines to all the ministries and other stakeholders of the area to promote ecotourism in a successful manner. Thank you.